Alrighty everybody, welcome out here to another video. As you all know guys, we're almost 2 months away from the Monster Jam World Finals 23 in Inglewood, California at SoFi Stadium. And with that being said, it's time for me to predict and unleash my prediction for what the lineup will be for this year's World Finals. Now, just to remember, guys, this is nothing on this lineup here that I have is confirmed. This is just a prediction lineup of who I think will be at the World Finals this year. So let's get started. First up, we've got Jim Kohler in Avenger. Now, this one is pretty obvious that, we definitely need to have Jim Kohler in the World Finals as a tradition since Jim has made it to every World Finals. We need to keep the trend going. We want to see what kind of a special body Jim Kohler brings out for Los Angeles and see what kind of cool Hollywood themed or whatever themed body he will do for the World Finals. So, we definitely want to see Mr. Excitement there at the World Finals make another appearance. Although Jim has not had the best of seasons this year, he has been slowly picking it up this past month. As I say, his performances in Arlington and El Paso were pretty good. So he's starting to pick things up a tiny bit throughout the latter half of the season. Let's hope he can continue this rate heading into Birmingham next week and have a strong finish to the season and maybe try to jump up and try to finish middle of the pack in points. Next up, we've got John Gordon in Bad Company. We want to definitely see John Gordon back at the World Finals yet again this year. I really do hope he can make it. John has had a pretty good season this year, although it may not have been as good as in the seasons in past years. I still think he's done pretty good this year as he has picked up a racing and freestyle win this year, picked up a racing win in Minneapolis Show 2, and also picked up a freestyle win in Houston, Texas Show 2. So, John has had lots of good moments. He's definitely had lots of good moments and good performances at the shows this year. He's had lots of pretty good freestyles. Like also another good freestyle shout out was definitely Tampa Show number 1. That was a pretty good freestyle. Also freestyles from Indianapolis and St. Louis were also pretty good as well. So I think John Gordon deserves to come back and be at another World Finals. Because I really do hope he can make it back so he can redeem himself from last year. Last year, John made it to the semifinals in racing last year at last year's World Finals. But due to a mechanical problem, he couldn't make it. And Brandon Vincent came back as a fast loser. And then John had a tough break at freestyle where he went where the shock went go through the hood, causing his run to be over. So we hope John Gordon can make it back to the World Finals this year to redeem himself after last year in Nashville. Next up, we've got Camden Murphy in the Bakugan Dragonoid. Camden Murphy has had an awesome season this year and deserves to be back in the World Finals. He is last year's runner-up in racing, so I really hope he can make it back to see if he can finally get himself that World Racing Championship or try to get himself a World Finals Championship. He is long overdue for one. Camden Murphy, out of all the drivers that are competing as of 2024, not including retired drivers, Camden Murphy is probably one of the greatest without a world championship. So you want to see him make it back to get one. Camden's had many great runs over this year. He's had lots of just standout freestyle runs, such as from San Francisco Show 2, San Francisco Show 1, San Diego Show 1, Arlington, Texas, where he had all those crazy saves. Camden's just had an awesome and great year this year, and we want to see him back at the World Finals to see what kind of crazy stuff he can do there. Next up, we've got Cole Vennard in the Black Pearl. Cole Vennard has had a pretty decent season this year so far. are, as although he has been out these past couple of shows throughout Minneapolis show 2, the 2 shows in Miami, Orlando, and Jacksonville, Cole still had a pretty decent season. And besides that, I'm really hoping he can make it in despite missing out on 5 shows so far on his tour after he got injured after a failed reverse backflip attempt in Minneapolis. So we hope he can make it back. But Cole has had many great freestyle runs throughout the years such as I believe in San Antonio show 2, Houston show 2, Indianapolis show 1, Indianapolis show 2, Tampa show 1, and Minneapolis show 1 were all pretty great freestyles for Cole. And I'm really hoping he make it back to the World Finals this year. Last year, I did feel like Cole Vennard did get robbed of a freestyle win. In my opinion, he should have won the freestyle championship last year. So I'm hoping he can make it back and try to get himself a world championship and make it back out to California. I think he'll make it. He just needs to have a great ending of his tour and do good when he hopefully makes his return in Syracuse, New York. So we hope from Syracuse, Atlanta, Foxborough, Denver, and Philadelphia, Cole can have some great performances and lock himself in to go back to the World Finals. Next up, we've got Cody Saucier and Dragon. We hope Cody Saucier can make back the World Finals this year. Cody Saucier's World Finals appearances have been pretty decent throughout the past 2 years. And, Cody, he was always been fast in the qualifying rounds where he'd finished second place actually 2 years in a row in qualifying, but would also get out in round 2 2 years in a row. He got in round 2 to Corey Rummel back in Orlando at World Finals 21. Then at World Finals 22 in Nashville, and got out round 2 to Brandon Vincent and Gravedigger. So we hope Cody can make it back to the World Finals. Cody's had a pretty decent season this year. He's picked up some overall event championships and has had some decent runs out here in the arena shows this year. So we really cannot wait, and hopefully Cody can make back to the World Finals. Next up, we've got Armando Castro in El Toro Loco. Armando Castro's had a pretty decent year this year. Although maybe not as good as his past season, but Armando still had a pretty good year this year. And we really do hope we can see him back at the World Finals. I really want to see him back at the World Finals and to drive El Toro Loco. He does deserve it. He deserves to get the spotlight in the stadiums. We want to see him try to do more and more stadiums. As you can kind of see over last year's second quarter, Armando Castro definitely did get some more spotlight in the stadiums. As last year in the second quarter, he did do some stadium shows, like he did New Orleans, Glendale, Arlington, Houston, the Superstar Challenge, and La Planta. He did all those shows, and he performed pretty decent at them. He did pretty good. So I really do hope Armando Castro can make his way back to the World Finals, as he does deserve it, as he's had a pretty decent year this year. I'm really hoping once points kick off again, I believe tonight for for Arena Series Arena Series East. I'm really hoping Armando Castro can do good. I really hope to see Armando Castro try to win his tour and win Arena Series East. So I'm hoping he can come through, burn it down, and try to win his Arena Series East tour so he can make his way back to the World Finals. Next up, we've got Kristen Anderson in Gravedigger. Kristen Anderson has had a pretty good season this year compared to her season last year, as she is currently right now leading her tour on Arena Series East. But not by much, though, as Armando Castro is coming after her and is chasing her down. So we do hope we can see Kristen Anderson make back to the World Finals. Seems like Kristen Anderson's World Finals appearances have slowly been getting better each time. Like her last appearance at World Finals last year in Nashville was better than her one in Orlando, as she actually made it to round 2 in racing by defeating Tom Meents and Max D, but would get knocked out in round 2 by John Gordon in Bad Company. And she would do pretty good in freestyle. She was able to fill her time and didn't have any mechanical issues on her truck. So we hope Kristen can come out here and have a great World Finals and continue to have a better and better appearance each time. And we hope she can make it out there. Next up, we've got Weston Anderson and Gravedigger. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this weekend he's going to be the first qualifier to the World Finals, as he has just been so dominant all season. Although he hasn't had many of his crazy wow moments and crazy saves or crazy moves like he did last year, he has still done pretty good this year, absolutely dominating his tour, getting like huge points gaps over second place Fernando Martinez and El Toro Loco. So Weston Anderson will probably make it. He may make it within the next couple of weekends, as he's just been doing so good. He's been so dominant on his tour. He's been in the lead for the whole tour, or he's just been super dominant. He's had a great season this year, and I cannot wait to see Weston Anderson hopefully make back the World Finals, and cannot wait to see him burn it down in another stadium show. Next up, we've got Adam Anderson and Gravedigger. Now, Adam has had a pretty decent season this year, not as good as last year, but Adam has had his cool moments at the shows. His freestyles from San Francisco, from both of the San Francisco shows, San Diego show 1, and then his crazy crash at Anaheim 6, his freestyle run from Detroit show 2, were all just amazing and stand out. Now, I do know Adam did get a bit banged up after Detroit, and he's missed the past 3 shows for Arlington and El Paso, but I'm hearing he should be able to return this weekend for Albuquerque, New Mexico, and will drive there. So we cannot wait to see Adam Anderson and be back and tear it up, and we hope he can make it back to the World Finals and tear it up there as well, as he truly does deserve it. I mean, and Adam can be back to the World Finals and tear it up once again. And as you know, he is a veteran. He definitely deserves to be at the World Finals. Next up, we've got Matt Cody and Gravedigger. Now, I believe Matt Cody this year should be able to get his first time appearance into a World Finals. Now, Brandon Vincent, guys, sadly has left Monster Jam as from what I've heard from some people, he wants to focus on his construction business. Instead, he wants to focus more on that job. So that is why he has left and has allowed for Matt Cody to come in and step in to fill in for the rest of the tour. Although Matt Cody won't drive at all stops, as he may get some fill-ins from like Tyler Menninga while he is trying to also do the international tour as well. So Matt Cody, I think, will get his first World Finals appearance this year. I think this makes sure he makes and drives at enough of the Arena Series West shows and not has to rely on fill-ins. I think he can make it, and Matt Cody can be at his first World Finals appearance, something that's been long overdue for Matt Cody. Instead, for him to be in a World Finals, and I think this year may be the year we can finally see Matt Cody at a World Finals and can do well at. Matt Cody has gotten a lot of exposure to stadiums throughout this past year after doing the international tour. I think Matt Cody is ready for his first World Finals, and he's ready to tear it up in the black and green wrecking machine. Coming out next is Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger. And man, oh man, Tyler definitely deserves a spot in the World Finals this year. He has absolutely drove and has been a wild man all season long. He's done so good. I mean, he's been fast in racing. He has swept many shows, clean sweeping. He has just had an amazing season this year and deserves to be back at the World Finals. And then he has had so many also just great freestyle runs from this year, such as his freestyle runs from San Antonio Show 2, Houston Show 1, St. Louis Show 1, Indianapolis Show 2, Tampa Show 1, Minneapolis Show 1, Miami Show 1, Orlando, and Jacksonville. Have all just been awesome and just standout runs from Tyler Menninga, and we just hope he can make it back out here and qualify for another World Finals, as I'm thinking he will get it. he will probably win his tour. Although he doesn't have an insane points lead like Weston Anderson, he will probably still make it in and make clinch his tour before it's actually over. That is if somebody else like Tristan England or Todd LeDuc doesn't try to stop him and try to make sure they get a bit closer in him on the points. I mean, either way, Tyler's definitely going to make the World Finals this year, and we cannot wait to see what he can do in California to burn it down and tear it up. Next up, we've got Bryce Kenny and the Great Clips Mohawk Warrior. Bryce Kenny has had a pretty great season this year. He's had many awesome wow moments, especially from St. Louis Show 2, where he ended up doing that crazy, almost like he did a somersault and he had that crazy consecutive backflip. That was very, very similar to George Bellhands in 2012 at the World Finals. So that was just crazy. And he also had that crazy, almost like mid-air corkscrew in San Antonio Show 2. I mean, Bryce Kenny, he's just done really good. He's been pretty consistent this year. He's also had some pretty great runs. He's also had some other good freestyle runs. Some honorable mentions that I definitely can say are the 2 Miami shows. Both those freestyles for him and at the Miami shows were really good. And we just cannot wait to hopefully see him back at the World Finals. We can't wait to see him tear it up. He's definitely looking for revenge after that last year's World Finals where he had EFI problems. Next up, we've got your defending World Racing Champion, Tristan England in the JCB Digatron. Now, Tristan needs to be at this year's World Finals. Tristan's had an amazing year this year being in stadiums. I mean, Tristan quite possibly has right now the best running truck in all of Monster Jam. Like, I mean, it's rarely ever having mechanical issues. That thing is just blazing fast and racing. Tristan's always had really great consistent skills runs. And Tristan has just always burned it down in freestyle, getting huge air, nailing backflips, having technical maneuvers. Tristan's just done super duper awesome in this truck. He just had so many great freestyle runs this year. And almost all of them have been great. Like both his freestyle runs at San Antonio were awesome. His freestyle runs from St. Louis were great. His freestyle run, especially from Indianapolis Show 2, was just amazing. Let's see here. Miami was pretty great as well. Miami Show number 1 was really good. Orlando was pretty great as well. Well, I mean, Tristan, he's had a really, really great season this year. He's been consistent. He's trying to give Tyler Menninga a run for his money, and he's trying to go for that Stadium Championship Series win out here on Stadium Tour East. He definitely deserves a spot in the World Finals, and we cannot wait to see him tear it up out here in this brand new JCB Digatron. Next up is Lindsey Reed in Lucas Stabilizer. I'm going to do hope Lindsey Reed can make it back to the World Finals this year, as she's had a pretty decent season out here filling in for Cynthia Gauthier, who had her first child. So, you know, Lindsey Reed, she's done a pretty good job filling in. And she's been doing really good on this year's Stadium Tour. I mean, this is Lindsey Reed's second time competing in a Stadium Tour, and she's done pretty good compared to the other Stadium Tours she competed in back in 2021. When she competed on the 2021 Stadium Tour, I mean, she just did not have a great season. She was having lots of issues, crashing early, mechanical breakage. She really struggled a lot that season, and in this year I felt like she's done way, way better out here on the Stadium Tour. I mean, it was a bit of a slower start for her, but she definitely did start to pick things up. And she picked things up at around probably St. Louis is where she really picked things up. And she did great in her freestyle. Both of her freestyle runs from St. Louis were pretty good. Indianapolis Show 2 is a great run for her. She had another great run in Tampa Show number 1. Minneapolis Show 1 was pretty great. Minneapolis Show 2 was also pretty good. Miami Show 1 was pretty good, as she was definitely driving on that ragged edge. In Miami Show 1, she did good there. Orlando is pretty decent as well, and Lindsey Reed definitely had a pretty great season, and we cannot wait to hopefully see the 2019 World Finals champion and World Finals Freestyle champion at the World Finals this year, and she can burn it down out here in Lucas Stabilizer. Next up, we've got Blake Granger in Max D. I think this should be also a really great one out here, as although as I'm recording this video, it currently says on the website TBA or to be announced, to be determined driver for Max D on the website. When you look at the 2024 lineup, it does say on that tour that there's a TBA Max D driver. It also says that for all Stadium Tour East shows going forward. So we don't know what's really going to happen with the Max D driver situation. Now, I highly doubt Tom Meents will come back, as considering his injury he had in Indianapolis. I just don't think Tom Meents, after a bad injury like that Tom will come back. I just don't think he will. Well, I mean, it would be nice if he does, but don't get your hopes up on it. And then Cole Eichelberger. I mean, Cole Eichelberger just seems like he's just kind of busy. And just wasn't as interested in taking the job to drive Max D for the rest of the season. So I don't know if Colton will come back, or maybe Colton does. And as then Blake Granger, I think he would be the perfect spot, but the problem with Blake Granger is to fill in for the rest of the tour, is he is busy with some of the international shows. So that can be a bit of a problem. So I don't know if maybe Colton and maybe Blake could share the driving duties, where Colton drives on weekends while Blake is doing the international tour, and on the weekends when Blake isn't doing the international tour, he drives Max D. But so we don't really know what's happening with that Max D spot on Stadium Tour East. We don't know what's going to happen. I do believe Blake Granger is going to drive for Hartford, Connecticut, a non-for-points show coming up next weekend. I believe he'll be driving there, since he doesn't have an international show that weekend. But I do think Blake Granger will make it into the World Finals if he can fill in for Tom Meents in the next couple of shows, and fill in and drive Max D if he can somehow make those shows and driving them. I think he'll get a good chance at making the World Finals. Something also a long overdue first time appearance in the World Finals for Blake Granger, as I think he kind of got robbed maybe of it back in 2019. In 2019 had a bigger field. The maybe 28 or 32 trucks. Blake Granger probably would have made it in, but sadly he didn't. Although he did get to compete in the ATVs, Speedsters, in the showdown competition. But we really know Blake Granger can be back and make his first ever World Finals appearance, as that's something long overdue and be something really cool. They continue on the Max D legacy in the World Finals. That would be kind of strange to have a World Finals without Max D. This year's maybe the first one that does, if Blake doesn't make it. But I'm thinking Blake Granger will hopefully make it into this year's World Finals. Next up, we've got Todd LeDuc in Megalodon. As Todd has definitely had a better season this year compared to last year. It seems like he's starting to get more of the hang with this Megalodon truck. Definitely seems like when at World Finals where he really started doing good inside of Megalodon. As he did great at World Finals, getting a podium spot in freestyle. And then he came back 4 months later for the Superstar Challenge and drove Megalodon then. And also had a pretty good performance, laying down a nice freestyle and making it to the finals in racing. And then this year he's also just had a pretty great year in Megalodon. He's had some great skills challenge runs, getting that bicycle into moonwalk. And he's had lots of decent freestyles all around, such as from San Antonio Show 2. That was a pretty great run. That was a pretty decent run from San Antonio. I meant to say San Antonio Show 1. That was a pretty great run. St. Louis Show 1 was also pretty great as well. He had a crazy crash in Indianapolis Show 1. He laid down some decent runs in Miami. Had a pretty great run in Jacksonville. So we really want to see Todd LeDuc back at the World Finals. And that'd also be kind of strange if we had a World Finals without Todd LeDuc. And I'm really hoping he can make it back and have a great run. As it almost seems like ever since 2018's World Finals, it seems like Todd LeDuc has always done something crazy in every World Finals since 2018. In 2018, Todd LeDuc ended up doing the flat spin in Mutant. 2019, he did the huge LeDuc leap across Camping World Stadium in Monster Energy in 2019. 2022 in Blue Thunder, he had that crazy Ragged Edge freestyle with a consecutive backflip and then that crazy crash save at the end. And then last year in Megalodon Neon, he just absolutely sent the truck to the moon. So that was pretty awesome. And I'm also really hoping this year for Todd LeDuc at the World Finals, considering, and a bit of a spoiler alert, the only two trucks I see having multiple of at the World Finals are Gravedigger and Megalodon. So I'm really hoping, like kind of what they did last year, I'm hoping Todd LeDuc gets to drive some sort of a thematic themed truck to promote whatever Superstar Challenge is this year. Like we still don't even have a date for this year's Superstar Challenge or a location, but I'm really hoping that for whatever the Superstar Challenge is this year, that Todd LeDuc can represent that truck at the World Finals. Like I don't really know. My only two theories of what the Superstar Challenge this year will be, it'll either be Marvel vs. Destruction or Fire vs. Ice. As those are my because usually the so far from what we've seen from the All-Star / Superstar Challenge is usually based off the Walmart thematic themed Spin Master trucks, and 2019 was the Fire and Ice. They did Fire and Ice. Then last year in 2023 it was Nitro versus Neon, so they did that. So I mean it's kind of almost like two thematic series coming out this year. Here we have Fire and Ice is making a return to Spin Master this year. There have been some leaked photos, and Fire and Ice will be back for Spin Master this year. Though we don't have an official release date for when it will come into stores, but we do know it will be back this year. So we cannot wait for that. So that could be this All-Star Challenge. Fire and Ice makes return. Or it could be Marvel vs. Destruction, as the Marvel trucks, from what I've heard, are going to be Walmart exclusives. And so it's almost like a thematic series of just the Marvel trucks. So they could do a Marvel vs. Destruction as well. So that would be pretty interesting. So we'll have to see as the time and date gets closer and see what our Superstar Challenge theme will be. And see if Todd LeDuc can represent that at this year's World Finals and like represent that theme of a Megalodon, like maybe a destructive Megalodon theme, or a fire or an ice Megalodon, maybe a Marvel themed Megalodon. Who knows? We'll have to see as the time gets closer. Next up, we've got Corey Rummel in Megalodon. And I do think Corey Rummel definitely deserves a spot. Corey Rummel's had an awesome season this year. He's laid down, he's been fast all year in racing. He's been getting better at the skills challenge this year. And then freestyle, he just laid down lots of burner runs, just lots of awesome runs. There's from San Francisco Show 2, San Diego, I believe. San Diego Show 3 was also awesome. The Anaheim shows were pretty great. The Detroit shows were also pretty awesome. He also laid down a pretty decent run in Arlington and El Paso. So it's just been a great year for Corey Rummel. And we hope to see him back to World Finals. I think he will make it this year. I mean, Corey Rummel, he's just had really great. He's been done really awesome this season. And Corey Rummel had one of his best World Finals appearances last year by making it all the way to the semifinals in racing. But getting knocked down to Camden Murphy in the Bakugan Dragonoid. And would end up having a really great freestyle competition. And he just laid it down in freestyle. He had some of the best air and momentum of that night. So we want to see Corey Rummel back at the World Finals to burn it down. Next up, we've got Chris's Team Scream teammate Chris Kohler in Monster Mutt. Now, although Chris Kohler hasn't had the best of seasons compared to last year, I still think Chris Kohler has done pretty great this year. I mean, he has had some pretty decent freestyle runs throughout the year, such as San Francisco Show 2, San Diego Show 3. He did pretty good, I believe, in Anaheim. And then he also really did great. He did great representing Northern Nightmare back in Detroit. Those two freestyle runs were absolutely awesome. And then Chris Kohler laid down an absolute burner freestyle run in El Paso Show 2, where he ended up picking up his first overall event championship. So with that, I think Chris Kohler deserves to be back at the World Finals and drive the Mutt. I think if Chris Kohler can have just a great rest of the season, I think he should be able to lock a spot in and be back at the World Finals this year for his second appearance. Chris Kohler had a pretty decent appearance at World Finals last year, although he didn't do good in racing as he lost round 1 to Weston Anderson and Gravedigger. He did lay down an awesome freestyle run with 2 epic saves, but was sadly shut off after, like, Chris Kohler probably could have won the World Finals Freestyle Championship last year if he didn't have mechanical breakage after his 2 saves. As if that didn't happen, Chris Kohler probably could have won that freestyle competition. But sadly, he didn't. But so we definitely want to see him back to lay down another good run at SoFi Stadium, as that's the place where Chris Kohler is the only freestyle champion in SoFi Stadium. So he's gonna need to try to defend that freestyle title. Here as Chris Kohler won the freestyle competition, even got nominated for the Stadium Freestyle of the Year award winner with the freestyle run he had in SoFi Stadium last year, in 2023, as a part of Stadium Tour or Blue. And yeah, I'm really thinking Chris Kohler should be able to make back the World Finals this year. If he can just do pretty good for these ending shows of the season. Next up, we've got Brianna Mahan in Scooby-Doo. Now, Brianna Mahan last year sadly missed out on last year's World Finals because of her maternity leave, and she got to be a guest judge. And I think she should be able to come back and be back for the World Finals. Brianna Mahan should be able to be back for this year's World Finals. I think she can definitely make it back. I mean, she did have a slower start this season, but it seems like ever since New York, she's just really stepped it up, picked up her game, picking up lots of competition wins, even getting some overall event championships. Like, she even did get an overall event championship win this past weekend in Little Rock. So I'm really thinking that Brianna Mahan can make it back to the World Finals this year and drive Scooby-Doo and do a great job in it. I'm still really hoping Brianna Mahan can have another one of those World Finals 20 type runs that she had. I really want to see her lay down another one of those runs. Although it may be a bit harder this year for World Finals for Brianna Mahan, considering Brianna Mahan's last stadium event was June 18th in 2022 in London, where she drove Monster Mutt Dalmatian. So I'm really hoping she can make it back and return to the stadiums after having not driven in one since 2022. Next up, we've got Kayla Blood in Soldier Fortune. Now, Kayla Blood has not had her best of seasons this year. She's definitely had lots of mechanical issues on her truck, and she's just been on a really hard tour. This is a really hard, stacked, competitive tour out here on Stadium Tour West. But I believe she can make it back and be back in the World Finals this year, as she still has had some pretty great moments, such as her freestyle win in, I believe, Anaheim. She won a freestyle in Anaheim. I can't remember if it was Anaheim 3 or Anaheim 1, but I believe it was Anaheim 1 where she ended up getting a freestyle win there. She also laid down some pretty decent runs in Detroit and in Detroit, as well as I can't remember the other, in Detroit and Houston. She laid down some pretty great freestyle runs there, and I think Kayla Blood should be, if she can just try to redeem herself and pick herself up throughout these this next month of shows. I think Kayla Blood has a high chance, and she can make it back and be back at the World Finals. Next up, we've got Ryan Anderson and Son of a Digger. I mean, Ryan currently right now has had a great season. He's been super dominant. He's got a 50-plus point lead on his tour against Camden Murphy and Adam Anderson. So I'm really thinking Ryan Anderson's going to make it back to the World Finals this year. I mean, it's pretty obvious that would be pretty disappointing if he wasn't there. But I'm pretty positive Ryan Anderson will make it there. I think he'll win his tour and do pretty good. I mean, Ryan Anderson, he's had many of great moments throughout the year. Such as freestyle runs from both of the San Francisco shows, his runs from San Diego, Anaheim, El Paso. Oh, those were just all amazing. Ryan's been super fast in racing this year. He's picked up many racing wins, and he's also had some pretty great skills challenge movements moves, as he's been trying some more new stuff this year that isn't just the bicycles. Like he's been trying to do that maximum moonwalk off the backflip ramp, as well as even trying a butt kicker when he tried that back in Arlington. So, we cannot wait to see Ryan Anderson make back in the World Finals and absolutely tear it up. And let's hope, unlike what happened last year when he was in Inglewood at SoFi, let's hope he doesn't get any locked up planetaries at this year's World Finals. He ended up locking up a planetary area in his truck in each of the 3 competitions. So let's hope that does not happen again this year for Ryan Anderson. Next up, we have your defending World Finals Freestyle champion, Colt Stevens and Thunder Roarus. Now, I think Colt Stevens should be able to make it back. Colt's had a pretty decent and pretty good season this year, even picking up some competition wins, such as in Anaheim, as well as getting a freestyle win. I think he got a freestyle win in Anaheim, and even an overall event championship win in Detroit. So, let's hope Colt Stevens can make back World Finals and try to defend that World Freestyle Championship that he had. I mean, Colt Stevens had a really great run at SoFi Stadium the last time he was there in 2023. So let's hope he can have another run like that there this year. And let's hope he can burn it down in the Apex Predator. Next up, we've got David Olfert in Velociraptor. Now, I'm thinking and hoping David Olfert can make it into the World Finals this year, as David Olfert, in my opinion, has had a pretty decent and pretty good year this year. For his first year in stadiums, and with him being in stadiums for the first time this year, I think this can open a door for him to get some more spotlight and show how great of a driver he is in trying to make it into the World Finals. I think this year is his year. I mean, he was slightly robbed of making the World Finals back in 2022. I thought he should have made it then, but he didn't. And I think he was maybe slightly robbed of last year's World Finals spot as well. So I'm really hoping David Olfert can make it into this year's World Finals. He deserves it, and especially to represent for Team Throttle Monster, as Team Throttle Monster is probably one of the greatest independent teams, is in my opinion the greatest independent team of all time to have never made it into a World Finals, as Team Throttle Monster has never had any one of their trucks compete in a World Finals. So I'm hoping this year that changes and David Olfert can make it in. Last but not least, we've got Bari Musauer in Zombie. Bari's had a pretty great season this year compared to last year, with his awesome start to the tour back in San Francisco, where he picked up both the overall event championship wins as well as both the freestyle wins. Bari's done really great this year, and he's been really consistent. He's laid down lots of great freestyle runs, such as the ones from San Francisco. And Bari has just had a really great year this year. This year he's been really consistent. He's been fast in racing, has done some great stuff in the 2-wheel skills competition, and has always been consistent and has laid down some nice freestyle runs. So we hope this coming up year, we cannot wait to see Bari Musauer back the World Finals, and it will be ready to tear it up in Inglewood. Now is the missing out segment, where I discuss the drivers who were good but just not good enough to make it into this year's World Finals in the missing out segment, and some of the drivers that I believe may be missing out on this year's World Finals. First up, we got Zach Gardner in Wildside. Now, Zach Gardner has had an amazing year this past year, from competing in the second quarter shows to this year. I mean, Zach has had a really great season this year on his arena tour, picking up many overall event championship wins, and is even starting to include the 8-pack backflip in his freestyle runs. However, though, I just do not believe he will be able to make it in this year, because it's just too tight of spaces, and plus he's an independent driver on an arena tour, or so. And usually, in the whole time of Monster Jam doing the arena tours, I have never seen an independent from an arena tour qualifying to the World Finals. The closest thing we ever got was Kaylin Miguez back in 2019, where she made it into the Showdown competition, but yet didn't make it into the main field. And there's also been other independent drivers like as well as Matt Cody back when he drove Blue Thunder. He even made it qualified into the Showdown a couple of times back in Vegas, but didn't quite make it into the World Finals because he lost. So because of that reason, I just do not think Zach Garner will sadly make it into the World Finals. The same can be said about Dalton Widener in Jurassic Attack as well, as because he's also an arena driver, an independent arena driver. I just sadly just do not think he will make it into this year's World Finals. Brandon Vincent. Now, this was a driver who I had originally had on my predictions to make it, but ever since he left Monster Jam, he will sadly be missing out on this year's World Finals. Next up, we've got Colton Eichelberger in Max D. Colton Eichelberger, I just don't think he'll be making it to this year's World Finals. I did have him on my prediction list for about 2 weeks. I swapped him out with Tom Mentz on my prediction list for the World Finals for 2 weeks and went on my World Finals prediction. But now since he's probably left Monster Jam and he's probably not going to return to driving anytime soon, he's probably not going to make it into this year's World Finals. Next up, we've got Jamie Sullivan in Monster My Dalmatian. It's just such a tight space in this year's World Finals that if the lineup was maybe 32 trucks, I think she would have made it along with Zach Garner and some of the other drivers on this list. If this lineup was 32 trucks, Jamie Sullivan could have made it, but sadly, I just don't think she'll make it in this year. Yeah, I mean, sadly, it seems like she did have a really great month of January, where she was really up there with Weston Anderson, trying to keep up with him in the points, making sure he wasn't running away with it. But then when Jamie got injured in Newark, New Jersey, and that's really when she kind of started to fell off, as she ended up falling from 2nd to 5th place in the points as Brandon Telechka, Brandon Mahan, and Fernando Martinez passed her when Joe Dennis and Chelsea Van Cleve went to fill in for her, and they just could not do as good of a job to keep her near the top. Also, I'm sorry if there's a phone ringing in the background. I don't know why, or who's calling, but yeah. So I just don't think Jamie Sullivan will be able to make it into this year's World Finals, sadly. And she just hasn't been able to pick herself up back in the points to get herself into a higher position, back up into 2nd place, ever since her return back in Worcester almost a month ago. Next up, we got Charlie Pauken in Megalodon. Sadly, I just don't think Charlie Pauken will be able to make it into this year's World Finals, as he's been mainly competing on the international tour, as he's mainly competing on the international tour and he doesn't have a full-time tour. Although he has done some fill-ins so far this year, like he filled in for Lindsey Reed and Lucas Stabilizer. He filled in for that. People just keep spam calling me. I don't know why people are spam calling me, but Charlie Pauken and with him being on the internet, like he filled in for Lindsey Reed in the 2 Houston shows on Santor East, and has filled in for Adam Anderson and Gravedigger on the in Arlington and El Paso. So we hope we do hope Charlie Pauken can make it back to the World Finals at some point, and let's hope in some year in the future Charlie Pauken can finally be back at the World Finals and get a shot at a World Finals. Also, I'm sorry if I don't make any sense. I'm stuttering through some of these sentences because I keep getting called. Somebody keeps spam calling me. I just get distracted. Next up, you got Jamie Garner and El Toro Loco. Sadly, I still think he'll make it into the World Finals this year. Jamie's had a kind of a struggle of a season this year. He's missed out on some freestyle competitions. He has missed out on a lot of freestyle competitions this year, such as in San Antonio, Minneapolis, Jacksonville. He's missed out on lots of freestyle competitions. It's had a bit of a struggle this season. He's had lots of mechanical issues on his El Toro Loco truck. And I sadly don't think he'll make it in. And I think they're only going to have one El Toro Loco at this year's World Finals, and that one El Toro driver is going to be Armando Castro. So I sadly just don't see Jamie Garner making it into this year's field. Next up, we've got Mike Christensen in Vendetta. Mike Christensen also is in the same boat as Jamie, as he's also just had lots of mechanical issues on his truck this year, missing a lot of freestyle competitions, and just hasn't had the best of seasons this year. And so sadly, I just do not think Mike Christensen will make it into this year's World Finals. Next up, we got Joe Foley in El Toro Loco. Joe Foley, Joe Foley has had a pretty great season this year. He's picked up many freestyle wins and has laid down lots of great freestyles, but sadly I just don't think he will make it in for kind of the same reason as Jamie Garner, is that there's only going to be one El Toro in this year's World Finals, and that one El Toro is going to be Armando Castro. So sadly I just do not see Joe Foley making it into this year's World Finals, but I'm hoping some year in the future we can see Joe Foley in a World Finals. Next up, we got Nick Pagliarulo in Kraken. Last year, I felt Nick Pagliarulo was robbed of a World Finals spot last year. Whereas I think he should have made it in last year. Whereas Nick deserved World Finals last year over many of the drivers in that World Finals. But he sadly just didn't quite make it in. I don't know how, considering after his amazing year he had. I need to really wrap up this video. People are trying to keep calling me for some reason. I don't know why. It's probably my parents because they want to tell me something, but yeah, I just kind of can't pick up right now because I'm busy filming the video. And my cat is really scared right now. But anyway, Nick Pagliarulo, I just don't think he'll make it in. Nick has had a lot of mechanical issues this season on his truck, and he even missed out on the first month of the season. Missed out on the San Antonio, Houston, St. Louis, and Indianapolis shows because he was having a baby with his him and his girlfriend had their first child. So I just don't think we'll be seeing Nick Pagliarulo at this year's World Finals, and he just had lots of mechanical issues on his truck, and he's had a struggle of a season. Next up, we got Ryan Disharon and Shaker. Ryan Disharon and Shaker's had a pretty decent year this year, but sadly, I just don't see him making it in to the World Finals, as it's just not enough space, not enough room. If this was a 28 truck field, I think he would have made it. But sadly, I just don't think Ryan Disharon will be able to make it into the World Finals this year. Next up, we've got Tony Oaks in Thunder Wars. Sadly, I don't think he will make it into the World Finals. I don't think he'll make it into the World Finals this year because it's not enough room. I think they're only gonna have one Thunder Wars in this year's World Finals, so this is why I don't think Tony Oaks will be able to make it in. Tony Oaks had a great year this year, but I just sadly don't think he'll make it into this year's World Finals. Although maybe there's a chance he will make it if he can try to come back and win the tour. I think there's actually a great. I have all these drivers on the missing out segment. Tony Oaks is probably the driver with the greatest chance of making it into the World Finals, with his good performance, and if he tries to take that lead from the Gravedigger driver. Like if Gravedigger for some reason over this next course for the end of the rest of the tour he says fill-in drivers, I don't think they'll put him in the World Finals. It's just too inconsistent with the amount of different drivers. So I just don't think he will be able to make it in. So there's a chance he can make it in if Gravedigger just doesn't have a consistent driver throughout the end of the tour, or then Tony Oaks may be able to make it if he can come back and win the tour. Next up, we got Fernando Martinez in El Toro Loco. Fernando's had a great year this year. And for a rookie, he's just done amazing. Second place on his tour. But sadly, it's something he'll be able to make the World Finals due to there only being one El Toro spot. And plus, Fernando is still kind of new. He's only a rookie. So I just don't think he'll make it into the World Finals. I mean, it's kind of rare that we see rookies in the World Finals. I think the main time we've seen a rookie in a World Finals was Chris Kohler in Monster Mutt. From my memory, it was Chris Kohler in Monster Mutt back in last year's World Finals. So I sadly just don't think Fernando will make it into the World Finals. And this year, he's still kind of new, and he hasn't had as much stadium experience yet, as he has never done a stadium event before. Next up, we got Tom Meents and Max D, and this one probably hurts out of all the drivers on this list. Now, he won't be making the World Finals. Now, he was on my World Finals prediction list to make it in, as he was just doing absolutely amazing this year, laying down awesome runs, like he dominated the Saturday Night Show freestyle wins for San Antonio, Houston, St. Louis, and Indianapolis. He just absolutely was doing awesome. It felt like we were in the 2000s and early 2010s once again with the runs and stuff Tom was doing. But when Tom got injured, and I don't think he'll be coming back, sadly, so Tom Meents will sadly miss out on this year's World Finals. Although this wouldn't be the first time as he did miss out on last year's World Finals 18s at the World Finals 18 2017, missed out on that one. So sadly, we just don't see Tom Meents making into this year's World Finals. Next up, we got Brandon Teluchka and Just Get Her Done 2, who sadly I don't think will make into this year's World Finals, kind of for the same reason of Don Widener and Zach Garner, as he is an independent in the arenas. So I sadly just don't think he will make it in. Sadly, he will not make it into the World Finals because of that reason. And so I do hope Brandon Teluchka can one day be put on a stadium tour and can try to get more stadium experience and try to make it into a World Finals. I do hope someday that will happen and he can make it in. Next up, we've got Matt Pagliarulo and Jester. Now, out of all the drivers of all time, Matt Pagliarulo is probably considered to be the second greatest driver of all time to not ever be invited to a World Finals. Maybe a second or third as top three probably greatest drivers to never made it to a World Finals, in my opinion, are Chuck Warner's number one. Of all time, Chuck Warner will probably always be number one. Number 2 and 3 is a toss-up between Matt Pagliarulo and Tony Oaks, because they're both great drivers. Matt Pagliarulo, I mean, Matt's had probably one of his best seasons ever this year. I don't know if it was as good as his 2020 season, but I still think this year was it's been probably Matt's best or second best year in his career. He's had great freestyle runs. He's got that Jester truck working good. He's probably been one of the most consistent freestylers on his tour. He's always attempting backflips. He's attempting so many backflips at the shows this year. I believe he's only failed one backflip this year, which was at Tampa Show 1. But he's also had like great moments. He's had so many great freestyles, such as in Houston Show 2, St. Louis Show 1, Indianapolis Show 2, Tampa Show 1, Minneapolis Show 1, Minneapolis Show 2, Miami Show 1, Miami Show 2, Orlando. And even though he didn't have a backflip in Jacksonville, that freestyle one was still pretty decent. So Matt has had a great season this year, but I sadly just don't see him making it into the World Finals this year. You know what I mean? It's just too tight. Maybe if it was 32 trucks, I could see Matt making it in. But sadly, this year I just don't think he'll make it in. Then lastly, we got Cynthia Gauthier and Lucas Stabilizer. Now, sadly, I just don't think Cynthia Gauthier will make it into this year's World Finals. As, you know, yeah, she definitely won't be making it. I don't think she will definitely not be able to make it because she had her child this year and took a maternity leave. So she sadly just couldn't compete. And so she sadly won't be able to be at this year's World Finals. We hope in 2025, once Cynthia Gauthier makes her strong return, she can be back at the Monster Jam World Finals. Next up, it's time for my skills lineup prediction. First up, we got Camden Murphy in the Bakugan Dragonoid. I mean, Camden Murphy's done really great in skills this year. And he's really been able to balance the truck. He's even trying some new moves such as trying to do the tombstone off that backflip ramp. He's really gotten good at that and has nailed lots of those. So I think Camden Murphy should be in the skills lineup, kind of like last year. Next, I've got Armando Castro and El Toro Loco. I think he will make it back for his 4th Skills Challenge appearance in a row at the World Finals. I think he will be able to make it. He's done pretty great in skills this year. He's been doing pretty good in skills, so that's why I do think he should be able to make it. Next up, we got Weston Anderson and Gravedigger. I mean, Weston is absolutely amazing in skills. He knows how to balance that truck on its front two BKT tires. And he's done pretty great at it. He's been able to get some really nice moonwalks. And even in Little Rock, he had a really great skills move where he was able to walk out a moonwalker and have an epic two-wheel run for 54 seconds. And Weston's also had his many great and cool moments in the skills challenge this year. Next up, we got Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger. I mean, Tyler's has done amazing in skills this year. He's had so many, like, bicycles to moonwalks, crazy bicycles to sidewalls. He's had those crazy moments. As well as doing the bicycles where he'll skateboard it onto the other side of the truck and walk out a bicycle. So Tyler's has done amazing in skills, and plus he's the defending skills champion, so I think he should be back at it once again. Next up, we got Tristan England and JCB Digatron. Tristan's also had some really great skills moments. He really knows how to balance that truck on the front two BKT tires, and even twist the back two BKT tires as well, making it almost like doing a little crab walk. So I really do hope we can see Tristan England back at the skills challenge. I believe it's based on the top 8 highest averages in skills of the year. So I think Tristan England should be able to make it into this year's skills lineup and hopefully nail down and have a great run in the JCB Digatron. And at least this time it should be dry, as this is an indoor venue, so we should have a dry track and no rain. Plus it's California where it rarely rains, so I think we'll have a great skills track for this year that Tristan England can take advantage of and have a great skills run. Next up, we've got Dalton Widener in Jurassic Attack. Now, Dalton Widener's done just really amazing in skills. He's always been great in skills. He really knows how to nail a nice moonwalk. He knows how to pop that truck on the front two BKT tires. He's even been able to crab walk it where he twists both the front and back two BKT tires. I mean, Dalton's just amazing at skills. He's got lots of wins in that competition. So I think Dalton Widener should definitely be back should definitely try to get his first ever skills challenge appearance and to try to get another independent into the skills challenge, since last year was our first time we ever got to see an independent in the World Finals skills challenge, being John Zimmer Jr. in Terminal Velocity. So we hope Dalton Widener can be the second ever independent that can make it into the World Finals skills challenge. Next up, we got Blake Granger and Max D. Now, Max D's been so great at the skills challenge over the years when it first got introduced. All the Max D drivers are just amazing at skills. Tom Meents was amazing at it. Neil Elliott was great at it. Cole Meichelberger was good at it, and so is Blake Granger. And especially since Blake Granger's gotten the stadium experience through the international tour last year, as well as Orlando and Jacksonville this year. I think Blake Granger can start laying down some nice skills runs throughout these next shows he's doing for the international tour, as well as the shows he does fill in for Colton / Tom Meents and the stadium tour. Each shows he does, if he can lay down some nice runs there, he can build himself a nice average, and I think Blake Granger should be able to get himself into the Skills Challenge Championship this year, as he definitely deserves to be in it, as I think he got robbed of that, being in that competition in 2019, so we cannot wait to see Blake Granger throw it down. Next up, we got Ryan Anderson and Son of a Digger. I mean, you can't have a World Final Skills Challenge without Ryan Anderson in it, so I think Ryan Anderson will make it in this year. I'm really hoping and he does make it in. He's had many great skills attempts this year. He's been trying to do more unique stuff in the skills this year that isn't just bicycles. The bicycles and sidewalks and moonwalks, those stuff are all cool, but it's nice to see some variety from him, like trying to do the maximum moonwalk off the backflip ramp, as well as also trying to do a butt kicker in Arlington. So, he's done some crazy stuff. We cannot wait to see what other new stuff and more new and unique tricks Ryan Anderson tries to do in the skills challenge, and we cannot wait to try to see him do it at World Finals this year, as I think he should be able to make it, as Ryan has done really great in skills this year. Next up, we got the missing out drivers out here from the skills challenge. Here in there should be 5 on this slide, but I forgot to put them in here. Well, there's one missing out driver I did forget to put in here, which is Bryce Kenny in the Great Coast Mohawk Wear. I mean, I wish Bryce could have made it into the World Final Skills Challenge as, no, it's literally called the Brave Clip Skills Challenge, and Bryce is so good at the Skills Challenge, but, I just don't think this will be his year to make it in. It's just too tight with only 8 trucks. So sadly, I don't see Bryce Kenny making it in. Also, Jamie Sullivan, and I just sadly, she's also pretty good at skills. I sadly don't see her making it in, considering she's missed lots of shows. That was because of her injury, and you know, so I just sadly don't see her making it in. And Jamie Sullivan, right now, out of all the girls and all the female drivers out there that are out there, she's definitely one of the best at the skills challenge. She may be the best. As I don't know, it's kind of a toss up between her and the next female driver I'm about to mention that you can all see on the bottom right hand corner of the screen. But sadly, I just don't think Jamie will qualify for the skills championship this year. Maybe at some years she can, so we can finally see a female driver in the World Final Skills Championship, as that is something we have still yet to see. Next up, we got Zach Garner and Wildside. Zach's had some really great skills runs over the course of this past season, but sadly, I just don't see him making it into the Skills Championship this year. Too tight, and I'm thinking that there's going to be one independent in there. It is going to be Dalton Widener. Next up, we got Brandon Telechka and Just Get Her Done too. Sadly, I don't see him making it either. You know, maybe if he has a good top 8 highest average, maybe he can. As I feel Brandon Telechka can qualify for a skills championship soon because he's really great at the nose wheelie. Something about the way he's built his truck can just allow him to just sit in there and just balance on the nose for just a long time. You can just sit there and just balance it on the nose, and without even having to do anything. Like, I mean, that is really cool. I really hope Brandon Telechka can get a skills challenge appearance soon. Next up, we got Kayla Blood and Soldier Fortune. Now, of all the girls, she may be probably, in my opinion, is the best female driver at the skills challenge out of all of them. Top 3 for me, and the top 3 best female drivers for me, at least in my opinion, at the skills challenge. Number 1 is Kayla Blood, 2 is Jamie Sullivan, and then 3 is Kristen Anderson. I mean, Kayla is pretty great at skills. She really does know how to do the moonwalks. She's probably the best female driver at doing moonwalks out of all the female drivers. She really knows how to do great moonwalks. And I say she's better than Jamie only for the fact that Jamie Sullivan has only done 4 stadium shows, while Kayla Blood has done a lot more. So Kayla Blood's stadium experience, being able to do these moonwalks in the stadiums, really good, and not just in the arenas, is something why I think Kayla Blood is really great at skills, and I do hope she can make it to a skills championship at some point. She's also been trying new stuff in skills as well. She's been trying to get that maximum moonwalk as well. Hopefully she can nail it, and hopefully someday we can see Kayla Blood in a World Finals Skills Championship. Next up, it is time for the high jump competition. See who I think will make it into high jump. First up, we got Jim Kohler and Avenger. I mean, that would just kind of feel wrong to have a high jump championship that does not feature Jim Kohler. I mean, Jim Kohler won the Extreme Air Award thing for like 5 or 6 years in a row. He won it every year up until 2018 when Rosalie Raymer stole it from him. But Jim, you know, I mean, that's just kind of feels wrong to have a high jump competition without Mr. Excitement in there. Jim has had some big air moments throughout the year, such as in Anaheim, El Paso, and Detroit. He's had some big air moments, so we need to see him back in the high jump championship, because that would just be wrong to have a high jump championship without Jim Kohler, as Jim Kohler is one of the icons and one of the biggest and popular and most well-known drivers for huge air. So we need to see him back in that competition. Although he has not done his best at performing at it, he got 6th place in both 2019 and 2022. Then got 8th place and last place last year. So we hope he can come out here and he can get some redemption for himself in the high jump. Next up, we got Camden Murphy in the Bakugan Dragonoid. Camden Murphy shares sent in Bakugan Dragonoid this year. He's gotten lots of huge air, so that is definitely why I think he needs to be in the high jump competition this year. And the 2 times he's competed in high jump back in 2019 and 2023, he's done really good at it, almost nearly winning. Like, I believe he got like a podium 2nd place spot in 2019. and then he got a 4th place spot and did really great in last year's high jump competition. So I'm hoping Camden can make it back and can try to get a win in the high jump competition. Next up, we got Jamie Garner in El Toro Loco. I really want to see Jamie Garner come out here and tear it up in El Toro Loco for high jump. Main reason I want to see him in the high jump competition is Jamie has been known for some big air. I mean, he has had some big air moments over this year, but the big air moments I'm mainly talking about was from the summer of last year. As last year when Jamie Garner competed last year in the arenas in Overboard, he even did absolutely amazing in sky wheelies. Like his sky wheelies from Charlotte, Allentown, Savannah, Sunrise, Tampa, Duluth, and Hidalgo, Texas, all being arenas, were incredible. Especially from the first 3 I mentioned, Charlotte, Allentown, and Savannah. Oh my goodness, Jamie Garner was sending that truck high in the arenas. Although we haven't seen hardly any of those big leaps in some of the stadium shows, in the arenas, Jamie Garner has been tearing it up. And I think he needs to be in the high jump competition. And he has just been known for big air leaps before, especially from 2021 and 2023 season in the stadiums that he did. Like, my goodness, he was getting some big air, and I think Jamie Garner should be in the high jump competition for that reason. I want to see him launched in that El Toro super duper high and get El Toro Loco back into the high jump competition for the first time since 2019, as El Toro Loco has only had 1 high jump appearance in the career, which was in 2019, when Scott Buteau was behind the wheel. Next up, we got Bryce Kenny in the Great Coast Mohawk Warrior. Bryce Kenny's also had some monstrous air this year, especially from some of the January shows like San Antonio and St. Louis. He's actually just sent the truck sky high like a rocket ship. Like, man, Bryce has got some big air moments, and Bryce was close to winning that high jump championship last year. As he was he got 3rd place and lost to Cynthia Gauthier and Ryan Anderson. So I'm really hoping we can see Bryce Kenny back in high jump this year. Next up, we got Lindsay Reed and Lucas Stabilizer. I mean, Lindsay Reed, she has had some decent big air moments, has been known for some nice, decent air. Back in her arena days, she ended up doing some really nice sky wheelies that she can do pretty good. She's even had some nice big air moments this year at some of the shows, especially in Minneapolis and Miami. She had some really good big air moments there, so I'm really hoping we can see Lindsay Reed back in the high jump competition this year. Next up, we got Todd LeDuc and Megalodon. I mean, that was just kind of bad last year. How Todd LeDuc did not make it into the high jump last year. Because, Todd LeDuc, he's also one of the drivers who's just been known for huge and big air. So, it's just a bit disappointing that he didn't make it in last year to the high jump competition. I mean, Todd has just been known for big air. So, I'm really hoping he can be back in the high jump competition this year. Although he hasn't gotten that much big air this year, I mean, his big air mainly has come from this past year's mainly come from World Finals and Superstar Challenge. I just hope they put him in because, it kind of does feel wrong to have a big air competition without Todd LeDuc in it. So, I'm really hoping Todd LeDuc can make it back into the high jump competition this year. Next up, we got Corey Romo and Megalodon. Man, Corey's been flying all season long. Like he spent more time in the air than he has on the floor. That's just insane from some of the stuff Corey Romo has been doing this year. He's just had so much big air at the shows. It seems like he's always sending it, just getting huge, monstrous air. So we definitely got to see Corey Romo back in a high jump competition. Despite him running one of the heaviest trucks out there in Monster Jam, he can still get some big air. Even back in the 2022 high jump competition, he finished 4th place. He even finished above some of the CRD trucks like Lucas Stabilizer, and with Cynthia Gauthier, Kristen Anderson's Gravedigger, Todd LeDuc's Blue Thunder. So, Corey can definitely send it, and we hope to see him in the high jump competition this year. Next up, we got Ryan Anderson and Son of a Digger, the reigning champion. Ryan's also had lots of big air moments this year, and Ryan surely does know how to send it. He's the reigning champion, and he really does know it and has really great skill and technique for that high jump competition. So that is why I'm definitely thinking Ryan Anderson needs to be back in that high jump competition to try to even get a third one in a row. Next up, we have the missing out segment. Here, definitely some of the missing out drivers. First up, we got Adam Anderson. Adam Anderson is known for huge air, but sadly, I just don't think he'll make it into this year's high jump competition. We got Caleb Blood and Soldier Fortune. He's also a guy in huge air, but sadly, I just don't think she'll make it in. We got Tristan England and the JCB Digatron. Tristan's also had lots of huge air moments throughout this past season, but I just sadly don't think he'll make it. We have Bari Musauer and Zombie, somebody who I hope makes it back to the high jump competition. And as I think he was slightly robbed of possibly a win in 2022, or well, I don't think he was robbed. He was close to getting it in 2022, but just didn't quite get it in that high jump competition. So I'm really hoping he can make it back to a high jump competition at some point in the future, and can try to get redemption and try to win it. As Bari definitely deserves it. He badly needs to be back in a high jump competition. And I think he was robbed of making it into the lineup last year, so yeah. Next up, we got Tyler Menninga and Gravedigger. He's also had big air, but sadly, I just don't think he'll make it. Nick Pagliarulo, I mean, he's had some big air moments a lot in his career, but not in this past season. I want to put him in here this season, but this year, but due to his lack of air, I just sadly don't think he'll make it. Then we got Cole Stevens and Thunder Warris. I think he was somebody who could have been making it in there, or possibly from some of his big air moments that he had, like at World Finals last year and at the Superstar Challenge. But sadly, I just don't think he'll make it. It's just too tight. I sadly don't think he'll make it into the high jump competition again this year. Charlie Pauken being too focused on the international tour, or sadly will probably not make it in. Tom Menson, Max D. I'm going to put him in the lineup. I would probably put him in the lineup, but sadly, due to the fact that he got injured and probably won't compete for the rest of the season or ever again, he will probably not make it in. Then Cynthia Gauthier with maternity leave, he will probably not be competing in the high jump competition this season. And that is going to be it out here for my video. Sorry, this one was a bit of a long video. It would have been shorter if I didn't have as many distractions in the background of people spam calling me, but yeah, yeah, this is my predictions. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about my predictions. Do you agree with my predictions, or do you not? Who do you think will qualify for the main field skills and high jump championship? Let me know in the comments down below, and yeah, that'll be about it. We cannot wait for the World Finals. We are only 2 months and 3 days away from the biggest Monster Jam event of the year. I will be there. I cannot wait to be in California for the first time and go to SoFi Stadium for the first time in my life. I cannot wait. It's gonna be awesome. I cannot wait to meet you all there, and meet all my fans there, and meet all the drivers, meet all the Monster Jam community. We cannot wait. Yeah, so we probably my last World Finals video, and probably until the week of the actual event when I'll probably post. When I post my next thing for World Finals will be on the week of the actual event, when I'll post an analysis of the lineup. So that will probably be my next World Finals video. Which will probably come out the week of the actual event. But until then, let's enjoy some diecast monster truck action as well as Monster Jam action from Birmingham and Atlanta on my channel. Also, yeah, that's gonna be it. And again, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you guys can be notified when more Monster Jam World Finals content comes your way. And that'll be about it. Have a God bless day, everyone, and we'll see you all soon for some more Monster Jam action. Peace out. Bye.